So I've had a lot of questions asking me on how I made a one-man band, what was the process, and some of my techniques I use for composition and recording and all that. So I thought I would detail that in a video today. So I'm going to talk about 5 points. 1, instrumentation. 2, what equipment you have. 3, composition. 4, recording tips. And 5, playing live shows as a one-man band. So first off, you have to ask yourself, what instruments do you have? And what instruments do you know how to play? As this will determine, or at least maybe limit, what genre you play or what you need to synthesize with a computer program. If you're like me and you know how to play guitar, you're probably in the best position if you only know how to play one instrument. Anything that can play melody, like a keyboard or piano, guitar, even bass, those all work well because you can work with melody, and programming drums is relatively easy compared to programming a guitar or programming something like that. There are quite a few good synthesizer programs out there that you can download onto your computer, but if you're a drummer and you don't know how to play any other instruments, it will be harder for you than for guitarists. So moving from that, you have to ask yourself, what equipment do you have? Well, as long as you have at least one instrument that can play melody, you should be able to make music with whatever gear you have, as long as you have a decent amplifier or you have a direct input, which basically allows you to plug your guitar straight into your computer, and then through your computer you can use software to mimic amplifiers. And this often allows you to get cleaner tone, as it provides more flexibility with tonal options and EQ and everything. While if you are recording an amplifier, a live amplifier, you have to play around with the recording, the microphone placement, and make sure it's the proper distance away from the speakers. So it's a lot more challenging, but I find it more rewarding and personally enjoyable if the music is recorded through a live amplifier. It just has more power to it, in my opinion, but that's hotly debated. So even just disregarding what equipment you have, knowing how to use it is the most important thing. You can have the best equipment in the world, and if you don't know how to use it, it's not going to sound good. So just being familiar with what equipment you have is really important. I would recommend getting some pedals if you're playing guitar or bass, because having pedals allows tonal options, which can enable more dynamic songs, which maybe have like a soft, quiet, reverby part, and then a really heavy, gain-heavy part with lots of distortion or something. So having pedals and tonal variety is important, but again, you can make fantastic songs with a small amount of gear that is not very expensive. But obviously, spending money on high-end gear is an option if you want to get a better sound. The more money you spend usually allows you to buy higher quality gear, and therefore your overall sound will probably be better. But just knowing how to use your equipment, again, I can't stress this enough, is really important. So moving on from there, composition. So I think humming is a very useful tool if you're untrained in music theory like I am. I hum out a lot of my songs if I'm trying to write a specific portion of a song and I don't know how to make it transition cleanly. I'll just start humming and see what sounds natural, and once I get something that sounds good, I'll record it, and I'll also record the rest of a song. Like if I'm practicing and I'm just jamming out and I get something that sounds particularly good, I'll record it on my phone or some other, recording device, so that way I can listen to it later. And then if I have several riffs, I can combine them all and make it flow naturally and put together a song, or kind of create a few songs out of just riffs that have come in a moment of inspiration and creativity during a fun jam session. And when you're jamming with yourself, I find it really useful to have a looper pedal, and I've made a video about the Boss RC3 looper before and how useful it is for just creating a really dynamic song. You can solo over yourself, and you can do all sorts of interesting things by having multiple tones of guitar or synthesizer going at once, and so you can make this just growing, incredible sounding, very dynamic soundscape, and you can really flesh out songs and ideas. And so having a looper pedal is quite important as a one-man band, I believe, as it just makes composition far easier. But yeah, so record your ideas, because that's just important. If you forget them, you'll be kicking yourself, so don't do that. So that brings me to recording. So when you're recording an album, I mentioned earlier that you have the option of recording a live amplifier, or you have the option of recording through your computer. And obviously, if you're synthesizing an instrument, like you're synthesizing drums, or you're using piano or guitar or bass through a computer program, you can just record that directly through your computer itself. So there are many digital audio workstations. Audacity is a free one that most people know of. It's not particularly good, but it is free. Then there is Reaper, which is what I use, and I find Reaper to be very high-powered, but it's not overly complicated to just sit down and learn how to use it without having to read any tutorials. And within about 5 or 6 hours of playing around with it, I was able to start programming drums without too much difficulty. And I have never played drums before, and I just kind of sat around and figured it out, imitated some bands, and was able to record those drums quite easily. So yeah, if you're synthesizing it, it goes straight into your digital audio workstation. If you're playing an instrument, you will also record it into your digital audio workstation. And your two options are through a live amplifier by miking it up, taking a microphone, putting it in front of the amplifier, and then putting that microphone into your computer. Some microphones are powered directly by the USB slot, while other higher quality microphones require a microphone amplifier, which you will need to have in order to power the microphone itself, and then you attach the microphone amplifier to your computer. So your method of recording varies based on what you prefer, a live amplifier sound or directly in, and then modifying your tone using computer software plugins in your digital audio workstation. So there's also the matter of how do you keep in time with yourself with a song when you're playing. So when I write a song, I'll write out all the drums, and then I will listen to the drums through headphones, and I'll play my amplifier live, so that way I can hear the guitar through, I'll have the drums playing through the headphones themselves, and I'll be able to hear the amplifier bleed through the headphones, so that way I can both hear what I'm playing and also stay in time with the song. So that's something that I've found to be very useful, is just programming drums and playing along to the drums to keep time, so that way you don't mess up too badly at any spots. So this brings me to the final point in being a one-man band, and that's perhaps the most exciting, playing live shows. Well, usually you have to have recorded material before people will want to start booking you, because they just want to get an idea of what you sound like, of course. So going through the process of learning instruments, writing a song, getting familiar with your equipment, and knowing how to execute it all well, and then using that equipment to make a good recording, and then EQing and mastering that recording. That's all very important, in my opinion, in terms of your success and likelihood in getting a show. Booking agents get a lot of emails, so if they're not particularly impressed with your material or your recording, then it just becomes that much harder. But when you do get a live show, when you're finally booked, what I do for my live shows is I have my loop pedal and I record the drums from my computer. I'll play the drums through my auxiliary cable into the pedal, and I'll save the drums on the loop pedal's hard drive or memory stick. And then live, I'll take my loop pedal and I'll hook it up to the venue PA system. So I'll be playing the drums over the venue's PA, and I'll then play live guitars, live rhythm guitar through my amplifier. But obviously some songs have solos or multiple guitar parts, and also bass. So I also put all of that on my loop pedals, so that way I sound like a very full band when I perform live, even though I'm just playing the rhythm guitar. I also do vocals live, which that took me a while to get the hang of, especially if your vocals are not particularly strongly tied to the rhythm of your song. So if it's maybe counter to the rhythm or something interesting like that, it can be harder to play the guitar and also do vocals, but that's just a matter of practice and getting that down. And I do find that doing vocals and, you know, an instrument of some sort adds enough of a live element that people can really get into it, and they're not taken aback by the fact that you're just one person, because you do have to make up perhaps a little bit in terms of not having a full band, and you just have to put as much energy into your performance as possible and make sure that the audience can feel your energy and isn't getting bored. So yeah, that's about all I have to say on being a one-man band. I might make a video in the future about promoting yourself as a one-man band and sort of my tactics and such. So if you have any questions, just leave a comment and I'll answer. Other than that, cheers, thanks for watching, and hope I've inspired someone out there to form a one-man band, because I never thought I was going to be anything more than a bedroom musician, and for many years, 8 years, that's what I was, until I decided to start getting serious and start trying to create songs, and that all just kind of fed into my greater inspiration to start recording and then playing shows, and just kind of snowballed from there. So just keep at it. You're going to sound probably pretty bad at first if you've never played an instrument or recorded or written songs. It's all going to be quite awkward for quite a while, but there are lots of good YouTube tutorials out there on how to improve in multiple ways in terms of playing, recording, and all that. So, you know, YouTube is a resource. Use it. Hope I've been some help. Cheers.